Hey guys, I'm Mitch Dyer, standing here with Brian Altano.
Hi, Mitch.
Anime expert at IGN.
Absolutely, no.
For all the hot anime scoops, we turn to Brian.
Yeah, keep it locked right here for anime scoops.
We turn to you for Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
No, we don't, but I still had some fun whooping your ass in Dragon Ball today.
You lost literally every match.
No, the tail of the tape.
Right.
We've got a few.
All right. That game is really fun.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's a lot like the past Dragon Ball games, which I'm sure you're rounded out on all the fine details of those games.
Yeah.
But the multiplayer stuff, it's a little more simplified than it used to be. It's less about, at least as far as you and I saw, it's less about like throwing dudes through mountains and stuff like that, and more about very kind of scaled down arena fights.
I do like that, actually. It's a little more contained, but it still has that sort of feeling of space between two characters.
It's very vertical.
Yeah, which you do get watching, classic fight scenes in Dragon Ball, is seeing characters that seem like they're a mile apart from each other, but you sort of swim back in the air to get back to where you are and kick some more ass. So.
Yeah, and it's still really flashy. It's a beautiful game, and you get all these like crazy skills where you're like shooting giant laser beams into somebody's face and getting 30,000 hit combos out of it.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, I played the campaign, and I thought that was the most notable thing because it caught me by surprise. You're basically creating a custom character, and you're like, oh, I want to be the race that Boo is, like the Majin or whatever. Like, I'm going to be a pink tentacle lady, and that's my main character in the story as you're like going back in time to save the Dragon Ball universe from itself or something. Don't worry about it.
And it's kind of cool though to jump in and say, I'm going to create this race and this gender and this height and this weight, and
like to finally have a new Dragon Ball character is awesome because it's the same 80 people,
right?
Yeah.
And whoever you want it to be, and then drop that person into the game, and the art style matches up with the characters you're fighting. So you can go in there and whoop Goku's ass as your own character if you want.
And it fits in the world really nicely, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm going to train under Vegeta, and Vegeta is going to teach me moves, and then I'm going to switch over to Goku because I want to learn from him, and now like Vegeta is all mad at me about it. And in combat, it's you and Vegeta is like kind of useful because he's beating the snot out of Piccolo or whatever, right? And in the middle of all this, you're seeing a bunch of crazy events. Like if you're, I don't know, I'm still like secretly a Dragon Ball nerd. Yeah. I still love that show for, whatever. It's the dumbest thing and I still love it. But like to see one of the major events is like, oh, like Goku tries to sacrifice himself to kill Raditz, but this time Raditz moves and Goku dies alone. It's like, okay, that's silly for you, but it's like for me, that's a major event in that series that has changed in this story.
I do like that they are able to throw all that ridiculousness in there and then say, oh, don't worry, we wrote a way where that makes sense. Like that's part of the story.
Yes, gigantic quotes.
Makes sense in gigantic quotes.
You went to a time travel town and you were summoned by a crazy dragon. And, all right.
Yeah. And it's interesting in that regard where they go like, don't worry, you have your own character and he's coming in there from scratch for the first time ever. But this is how he works in the world. We figured out every angle, spared no expense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool game. I don't know that I'm like in love with it. I used to like this series a lot more than I do, but it's cool. I'm excited that like they're doing new cool things, especially in the single player, which nobody ever really played because it was kind of like a low rent version of the multiplayer.
Yeah, that's always a problem with fighting games in general, and it's kind of cool to see them try something that's a little more substantial with that.
Yeah, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah.
For more games from Tokyo Game Show, which Brian and I are at covering all sorts of things. You can look for all of that on IGN.com/TGS. And for all your Japanese video game news and anime scoops, keep it locked to IGN.